Hello everybody and welcome to our monthly Crowdfunder Sports Introduction to Crowdfunding webinar. Today we're going to be looking at crowdfunding, what is it and how it might be of use to you fundraising for your sports clubs. We're also going to look at the extra funding opportunities available for your sports organisation. So we've been joined today by the wonderful Nadine from Sport England. She'll be talking through the funds available from Sport England, and we'll look at some additional extra funds as well that we have available to you. I'll then be talking through crowdfunding, what it is and how you can run a successful crowdfunding campaign. We've got a bit of time at the end for a Q&A as well, so we'll answer some common questions that arise around crowdfunding for sports. We're recording this session, so we will make sure that it's sent out to everybody as part of a replay, along with some really useful links in order to start your crowdfunding journey. My name's Zoe and I'm part of the team here at Crowdfunder. As I mentioned, we've been joined by the wonderful Nadine. So without further ado, we'll get started. Nadine, are you there?
Yes. Hi, Zoe. Hi, everyone.
Hi. Very well, thank you. Thanks for joining me. So Sport England have got a couple of funds, haven't they, that they are, can't get my words out. So they're working in collaboration with Crowdfunder, making these extra funding opportunities available for sports organisations that are crowdfunding in order to raise those all-important funds for their clubs and their organisations. Would you be able to talk through the two different funds that are available from Sport England, please?
Absolutely. So we've got two funds available, as you said. So our first is our Active Together Fund. Now, this is a 7.5 million lottery fund. And we launched Active Together back in May 2020 in response to the COVID pandemic. And the key focus of this fund is recovery, reinvention, and building resilience. So typical projects could cover general maintenance, essential works, coping with the increased demand for activity following the pandemic, or now navigating the cost of living and energy crises that are going on at the moment. Through Active Together, we've supported over 600 campaigns, and with plenty of budget left, we're looking for even more clubs and organisations to support. Our second available fund is our 7 million lottery fund called Places and Spaces. Now, this is a capital fund, and the key focus of this fund is inspiring participation, diversifying audiences, and bringing people together, all in the name of the Commonwealth Games that were held last summer. Typical projects under this fund could cover creating a welcoming and accessible place, changing an existing place or space to encourage more people to get active, or creating a new place to bring people locally to give them more opportunities to get active as well. With both of our funds, they're available across England with match funding of up to 50% available to a maximum value of £10,000. And we appreciate for many people that this is probably their first dive into crowdfunding. So there's plenty of resource available that they can tap into. So, you know, do access this if you can, as it can really help with your projects. I'll now hand back over to you, Zoe.
Sorry, Nadine, I just
no worries
towards the end there. And just to let people know, so when you talk about the 50%, you're talking about 50% towards their initial target, aren't you?
That's
so they
correct.
Would need to set a target, apply for this funding, and then you would match up to £10,000 or 50% of their target, depending on what those are. That's brilliant. Would you mind sticking around towards the end of the webinar, because we'll have some questions that we can go through as well about the fund itself?
Yep, absolutely.
Wonderful, thank you. We'll hear from you in a little bit. So some really exciting opportunities there from Sport England. Just to highlight a few of our other sport partners as well. We have Sport Wales. They have a Place for Sport fund. So this is again a 50% match fund. So that's 50% towards your target, up to £15,000. So the maximum pledge would be £15,000 towards your target. So this particular fund is supporting clubs or community organisations that are looking to create, enhance or redevelop sports facilities for the benefit of their community. So if you are in Wales, please do take a look at the Sport Wales Fund. Alternatively, in Northern Ireland, we're working with Sport Northern Ireland for the Project Reboot Activate Fund. So this fund, you can see yourself receiving £5,000 to help build sport back within your community. So they're looking at sports organisations that are encouraging the community to get more active and more involved in sport. The match funding is 50% towards your target. However, if you fall into an area of high social need or a rural area, and that's based on the NI multiple deprivation measure. So if you fall into one of those areas, you may well see that that's a 60% towards your target match fund. So again, in Northern Ireland, definitely worth looking into this as a particular fund for you. In terms of how you would apply for the extra funding, we always recommend that you start setting up your crowdfunding page and you make sure that you've got as much of that information on there as possible for us to match you with our relevant funding partners. So when you're setting up your crowdfunding page, you will be asked some basic information. So where you are in the country, you'll need to let us know your postcode. You'll also need to let us know who you're going to be working with. So who's likely to benefit from your project and the potential outcomes as well. Please always make sure you tick this box, which is highlighted here, to allow us to share your project details with our potential funding partners. Unfortunately, if you do not tick this box, we won't be able to match you with any of our wonderful funding partners. So please do tick this box. And then the rest of this extra funding page and part of your project setup is all about those tick boxes to let us know who you're going to work with and those potential outcomes. So potential outcomes may well be increasing physical activity, tackling mental ill health. For example, we all know that sport has a really positive effect on people's mental health. So do think quite broadly when you come to filling in those tick boxes, and think about that wider community impact as well. Of course, you're going to be increasing physical activity, but what are those added benefits of your project as well on those around you and in your community? The way in which the extra funding works is that you put in an application for a pot of money. So for instance, let's talk about Sport England. You've put your page together, you've been matched with our extra funding partners, and Sport England is one of them. You're going to put in an application for, let's say, the Active Together Fund. It's about a 10 to 15 minute application process. So do make sure that you have all of those answers potentially saved on an additional document, because you can apply for more than one fund. And you might want to make sure that you've got all of those answers to hand to be able to fill in multiple application forms for the different funding partners. You might have been matched with Sport England and a local authority, for example. So do put in as many funding applications as you think would be a good fit for you. But let's go back to looking at just Sport England for a moment. So you've been approved for the extra funding, which is brilliant. You're then going to go on and go live with your crowdfunding campaign. So you're going to launch your crowdfunder and it's going to go live on our website. You're then going to start crowdfunding. So you want to reach out to your crowd and you want to bring in those all-important donations. Once you've reached 25% of your initial target yourselves from your crowd, from people coming to your page and donating, and you have the required amount of supporter numbers, so you can see in the table here that depending on your target, you will be required to have a set amount of unique supporters as well that are backing your campaign. When we talk about unique supporters, we're referring to those with their own email address and their own banking footprint as well. So you really want to be able to bring lots of different individuals to your page in order to make those all-important donations. Once you've hit these two milestones, so 25% raised yourselves from your crowd from a set amount of supporters, dependent on your target, you will then see a pledge being made to your page by Sport England. There'll be a lovely banner that shows on your page, letting people know that Sport England are supporting your campaign. They will become one of your supporters, listed in your supporter list, and you'll also see their pledge adding into the amount of money raised towards your target. So for instance, let's say you've received the full £10,000. So that £10,000 will show in your target raised, and the amount of money you've raised will leap up, and so will your percentage. You then keep crowdfunding until you've reached 100% of your target. That 100% of your target does include the pledge from Sport England. So if you've received a 50% match fund at £10,000, You've crowdfunded, so you've gone out to your crowd and you've raised £10,000 of that yourself, and Sport England have supported you with £10,000. That means that you've now hit your £20,000 target. So you've secured all the money that you've raised from your crowd and also from Sport England. Now, if you have any time that's still live on your campaign, you can continue to raise money. You can go into something that we call a stretch target. So we always give you the ability to overfund your project. You set an initial target, which is the minimum you need to make your project happen. And it's a nice realistic target that you can achieve from your crowd. And then if you still have time live, by all means, you can keep crowdfunding and you can overfund your project with a stretch target. And the stretch target is movable, so you can increase that if you are doing really well with your fundraising. You can keep increasing that one along the way. So Crowdfunder UK, for those of you that might not have heard of us before, it might be a new way of raising money. You might just be thinking about actually coming over to crowdfunding from another platform. So Crowdfunder UK is a rewards-based crowdfunding platform. A reward is a benefit of some kind in return for a financial contribution. So it's a really lovely way to incentivize people's giving. It's a great way to engage with your community and your crowd by providing something that they can claim when they are donating to your page that gives a nice little thank you from you and from the club. So that could be anything from coaching sessions all the way through to a high street voucher from a local business. And we'll look a little bit more detail about into rewards in a moment. Move myself down out the way for 1 second. So Crowdfunder UK, we've been up and running now for around 10 years. We're in our 10th year at the moment. And within that time, we've seen the platform raise well over £274 million for the projects that come through the platform. And there's around 300 projects that get added to the platform daily. So as you can imagine, there's a huge wealth of different projects for you to take a look at if you so wish, and to get inspiration from as well when putting your page together. We always recommend that you take a look at the website, you take a look at the extra funding pages for the sports funds, and you can see at the bottom of all of those the projects that have been supported by those particular funds. So take inspiration from their page layout, how they've put their page together, those all-important rewards that they might have on offer. Be a potential supporter and see what resonates with you. That will really help you to put together an engaging page for your own project. Now, we know that sports crowdfunds really, really well. We've seen all sorts of different sports clubs and organisations come through the platform, everything from speed skating to korfball, which is a brand new sport that I'd heard nothing about, but they did really, really well. So it's all about harnessing what you have at your fingertips already. You will have a group of people around you that are competitive by nature. All of your club members, all of the teams that are part of your local sports club. Make sure that you're engaging all of them with the crowdfunding efforts. You have a captive crowd and a captive audience already as part of your network. Make sure that you're bringing people along for the journey, involve them wherever you can, and those are going to be the crowdfunders that see the best results. So you might want to think about bringing a team of people around you, whether that's other volunteers or parents of club members or club members themselves, to help you along the way with actually putting the crowdfunder together. Who pledges on crowdfunders, and why do they pledge? Well, ultimately, you're going to have a group of people that believe in the idea. So that's going to be people that are already using the club facilities. That might be club members, team members, local community groups that use the facilities, members of the community that already have that relationship with you. So they know what the idea is. They're really excited to see it happen, and they are going to back the crowdfunding campaign. The other group of people that you want to be able to engage with is people that might not have as much of a close relationship with the club, but actually there's some really exciting rewards on your page. If you can strike a balance between those two groups of people so that you're making sure whatever content you're putting onto your page and whatever rewards you have on there are really tapping into both of those audiences, again, that's a really strong recipe for success. When it comes to actually putting the page together, we've actually created a really user-friendly template for sports clubs to be able to use. So make sure when you sign up to the Crowdfunder UK platform, you are clicking the sports button to make sure that you come through the website as a sports organisation. What this will do is it will automatically funnel you into all of our sports resources and make sure that you have access to this template as well. What we're looking for you to do is to rewrite these headers. So we've put some key headers in there as a bit of an inspiration for you, but we'd like you to kind of rewrite those if you can. But ultimately, you want to let us know who you are as a club or an organisation, what your community impact is, how are you cemented within your community, what you're crowdfunding for, how much money you need and what it's going to be used for, and ultimately those potential outcomes from your campaign and how people can help you. You want to make sure that that page is interspersed with lots of lovely visuals and images as well to catch people's eyes. Make sure that you are following the format that we've given you. So a nice bold header, a descriptive kind of paragraph answering that particular heading, and then a nice clear image as well. If you can follow that format all the way down your page, we know that it's a really engaging way to resonate with your supporters. If you can add a video to your page as well, that can be a really great way to tap into your audience. If you can put a video together that's around 1 to 2 minutes long that can feature at the top of your page, letting us know who you are, why you're crowdfunding, what you're crowdfunding for, and what the money is going to be used for, and how people can help you to actually get to your fundraising goals. Those people that are short on time can click on your video and get a really good idea of who you are and what you're doing. We do find that projects with videos are more likely to succeed. We just live in that kind of scroll-heavy society at the moment where people are more likely to watch a little snippet of video content rather than read a whole huge paragraph of text. You will, of course, have people that are invested in you and your project, and they will read the whole of your page. So make sure that all the way through your page, you're remaining engaging, you're keeping detail concise. If there's any information you want to let them know outside of the crowdfunding page, maybe you've got a website which holds a huge amount of information about the club, you can always put a link to that onto the crowdfunding page as well. So people can navigate to the website and read a little bit more about who you are and what you're doing. In terms of those rewards, get inventive. Think about not only your existing club members or people that might want to maybe try the sport for the first time. Could you do a taster session, for example? But also think about your wider community. So you can see just a few examples on here. You've got things like a fish and chips voucher, where this particular project have obviously gone out to their local high street, spoken to the local fish and chip shop, and they've gifted them some vouchers to put onto their crowdfunding campaign. All the way through to corporate sponsorship. We've got a signed shirt here. I remember when this happened, it was when Tom Cruise, I think, was filming Mission Impossible, and he landed near a football club, and people ran out, got him to sign some shirts. They went onto the crowdfunder. I mean, that's a huge, huge reward. But think about things that are going to resonate with your existing members, but also the wider community. Vouchers, products, services, even experiences and events. If you have the capacity to hold a community event, for example, and people might buy tickets to that via your crowdfunding page. You also have the ability to multiply your crowdfunder. So by multiplying your crowdfunder, it actually gives your potential supporters, and again, maybe your club members, the ability to set up their own mini crowdfunder pages and their own fundraisers. You would contact us here at Crowdfunder UK via our support team, and we can activate this facility for you. You will then see a button appear on your main crowdfunding page, which would have become a fundraiser and start fundraising. You can see here that the Brixton BMX track did exactly that. They actually set a challenge where they had their club members going around the track for a set distance as a fundraising challenge to raise money for their overall crowdfunder. It's just a snapshot of a couple of the additional fundraisers that you can see here. So they had 23 fundraisers in total. All of those individual crowdfunding fundraiser pages, all of their supporter numbers and all of the money that they raise will be funneled onto your main crowdfunding page. So it's a really brilliant way to get you hitting those milestones of the required supporter numbers and the required 25% raised in order to unlock that extra funding. So it might be something to consider if you have good links with maybe local schools, or you're in a position where you have different teams that you might be able to set a fundraising challenge to. It's a great way to involve the community in your overall fundraising. We have some wonderful resources on offer as well, one of which is our Learn platform. So we have an online learning tool, essentially, and we have one specifically for sports clubs. So we highly recommend that you make use of this, and we always make sure we share the links to this in any follow-up emails as well. But you sign up to it. Anybody that's involved with the crowdfunding campaign, I recommend that you get them to sign up as well, so that you can all be on the same page with how you're going to create this campaign and deliver it. There are 4 modules: an introduction to Crowdfunder, and then the planning, creating and running of the successful campaign. All the information that you need is there. So do make sure that you sign up to this and work your way through it before you think about launching your campaign. The other, I just want to mention another resource we have, which is our wonderful Knowledge Hub as well. And that's full of brilliant guides for every single stage of the crowdfunding campaign. So do make use of all of the resources that are on offer to you. I just want to welcome Nadine back now. We can go through some commonly asked questions, which may be of help to you as well. So Nadine, are you there?
Yep, I'm here, Zoe.
Wonderful, thank you. So I just wanted to ask a few questions about the fund itself. Common questions that we have come up in these sessions are, can I pledge money onto my crowdfunding campaign from the club or from the organisation? And there's kind of a two-pronged answer to this one. From a crowdfunding perspective, yes, you can. In a way, it's kind of encouraged because you're investing in your own project. However, you do need to be a bit mindful about how you go about doing that. So in terms of extra funding, Nadine, what's your take on a club pledging on their own campaign?
Yeah, so for us, we can't accept any retrospective funding. So it's not possible to add on money from the club that, you know, might have come through from a previous grant. If you know, a club or organisation wanted to pledge whilst their campaign was live, that would be acceptable, providing it wasn't a significant amount. And if it was, we would encourage you to have a conversation with us first, as we would require certain pieces of evidence just as an audit trail.
Wonderful, because we often find that maybe a club might hold an in-person fundraising event, and we understand, don't we, that not everybody is in a position to donate onto an online platform. So there's always going to be a few people that want to give the club a check or some cash, and that's fine. But they do need to make sure, as you say, it's not a significant amount, and also that there is that audit trail for yourselves and for your supporters. So we always recommend that you maybe post an update to your page when something like that happens, and then you can celebrate it and let people know you had an event at the club and it's brought in X amount of money, and a massive thank you to everyone that attended. So there's ways that you could do that publicly and kind of supporter facing as well, which is quite good. And then in terms of the funds itself, are there particular projects that you're looking to support at the moment? What are kind of some of the main criteria that you'd be looking for with clubs?
So providing it's not a project for the benefit of an individual, you know, we can, and it has, you know, a focus on sport and physical activity, providing all the governance requirements that we have are in place, then we can fund the project. We can fund projects from parish and town councils as well. We've seen quite a few skateboarding projects that have come through those means, the parish and town councils. So just apply. We would encourage you to apply, and then we can have a discussion offline whether you're eligible or not, or look into those things.
Amazing, thank you. And that leads me nicely on to, we talked about, you know, applying for multiple different funds as well. We always encourage people to, and I know that you guys at Sport England, you're quite happy to support clubs alongside our other funders as well, aren't you? So if they've been matched with maybe a local authority as well as yourselves, it's always a good idea for them to put in a few different applications. In terms of people contacting you directly, if they have any queries, would you be happy for them to get in touch to maybe talk about a potential crowdfunding campaign?
Absolutely. I mean, we always have general bits of information that people can look at, but we understand that sometimes some queries are a bit more niche or require a bit more information. So absolutely do get in touch at our email address, internalcaf@sportengland.org, and we can pick up any queries there and get back to you.
Amazing. And in terms of projects or sports clubs that have received funding from you already, would you consider funding them for a crowdfunding campaign?
Yes, providing it's not for the same piece of expenditure. If it's a different element, then we can definitely consider funding through Crowdfunder.
That's really good to hear. Thank you. We often get asked as well about things like fees associated to crowdfunding. So just to give people a quick overview, we do have a page on our website which details all of our fee structure, but essentially the way that we work is if you're a not-for-profit organisation, you're not subject to any platform fees. So platform fees are things that involve all of our amazing resources, hosting your crowdfunder as well. So if you're a not-for-profit organisation, which essentially you would be to access the Sport England funds anyway, you wouldn't be subject to any platform fees. Every single crowdfunding campaign that comes through the platform, however, all of those donations or transactions, I should say, do have a transaction fee associated with those. We use a third-party provider called Stripe, and essentially it's the fees attached to that. So when you're setting your target, do make sure that you're thinking about any of those additional fees or maybe the costs of delivering some of those rewards that you have, and think about maybe increasing your target by, I don't know, 5 to 7% or something like that, just so that when you close your successful crowdfunder, you receive the money you were hoping to minus any fees, because at the close of your crowdfunder, that's when those fees will be deducted and you will receive your payouts within around 7 days, and a little bit longer for that extra funding money. There's just a few more steps of due diligence that we would need you to complete, and it's normally around the kind of 10 days or so to receive that payout of extra funding, all of which you can look at throughout our help centre and our knowledge hub as well. If you have any questions about fees and payouts, all of that information is there for you. One thing I'll just quickly cover, which we do get asked about as well, is gift aid. So if you are able to accrue gift aid, if you've registered for gift aid as an organisation, you can actually accrue that as part of your crowdfunding campaign. And then you can draw that down from HMRC. Once you've closed your campaign, we'll make sure that you have a gift aid report that you can download and actually go and receive that from HMRC. Alternatively, there's a fee-paying service called Swift Aid that we work with that you can opt for as well. So there's lots of wonderful ways in which you can really utilise the crowdfunding campaign and make sure that you make the most of using this as a tool for future fundraising. We've seen sports be really successful, haven't we, Nadine, over the last couple of years. Is there anything that you would give as a bit of a takeaway advice in terms of putting those applications in? I know that ultimately we want everybody to get approved, but there is, in the case of them getting declined, what would be the process from Sport England?
So we always look to provide feedback if you are declined to, kind of address what areas need to be improved upon. And then we would encourage you to come back in for another decision where we can take another look, review the changes that you've made. The only caveat with that, we do ask that you request a re-review before your project is nearly completed to give us enough time to take a second look and before you reach your target.
Wonderful, thank you. So ultimately, we're encouraging people to put in those applications before they do go live, because that opens up those conversations with yourself. If for whatever reason the campaign and the project isn't quite there, then you offer a lot of support, as do we, to make sure that they can bring that campaign up to a level where you're happy to support them. And like you say, there's lots of support on hand from Sport England. So we do encourage everybody to make sure they get those applications in early to give them a head start in making those changes if they need to. Thank you so much, Nadine, for joining me today. We've got our next step slides coming up that you can all have a little look at and start making those steps towards starting your crowdfunding campaigns. If people have any additional questions, they can contact yourselves, can't they? Alternatively, pop along to one of our weekly drop-ins or get in touch with our wonderful support team, all of the links to which will be in our follow-up email. Thank you very much, Nadine, and thank you all for joining us.
Thanks, Zoe. Thanks, everyone.